The elevator doors opened and the lobby felt wrong. Too clean, too loud, too bright. A man strutted across the marble floor like he owned it, because technically he kind of did, at least in his own head. His name was Tyler, son of the CEO, and he had that special kind of arrogance that made grown men and women second-guess themselves before he even spoke. Usually, I ignore people like him. Usually, I keep my head down. Today, something told me I wouldn't. I was walking past the valet stand when his shiny black Porsche 911 barreled through the glass doors, leaving a smear of tires and entitlement. Not just any Porsche. Matte black, aftermarket rims, the kind of car you can't look at without knowing someone spent more on it than your rent for a year. He slammed it into the reserved property management spot, the one I had assigned months ago with a stencil of my own hand. Perfectly painted. Just for me. I stopped, coffee in hand, watching him. He didn't notice, didn't even glance at me. Tyler had a habit of assuming women in work boots and canvas jackets were invisible, unless they were handing him something, or firing him. I thought about my options. Step back, let him drive me crazy, or make him remember who actually owned the floor he was strutting on. He tossed the keys to the valet like he was discarding trash, and the heavy fob bounced on the concrete with a satisfying crack. I didn't move, didn't flinch. I just let it sit there, in a puddle forming from the morning drizzle. The sound echoed in the lobby, louder than it should have. Tyler finally looked down, scowling like a toddler who had just been told he couldn't have dessert. "What the hell?" he barked, hands on his hips. "Pick that up. That's a $150,000 car." I sipped my coffee. Calm, flat, the tone of someone who had spent years managing chaos and dealing with entitled children masquerading as leaders. "It's parked in my spot," I said. "You dropped the keys. They're yours now." He stepped closer, scent of designer cologne and fear, towering like he could intimidate me with posture alone. "Do you know who I am? My father owns this company. I am Tyler. I'm the heir. You can't—" He trailed off, trying to find the words that would make his ego enforce itself. I smiled. Not the kind of smile you offer someone as a courtesy. Not a friendly one. Predator watching prey. Razor-edge calm. "Then listen carefully. I own the asphalt under your wheels, the lobby you're defiling, and every square inch of this building. Move the car, or it won't matter what your father thinks." He stared, lips parted, face flushing red. You can't." "I just did," I said, finishing my coffee and walking away, leaving him to stew in his rage, the fob floating in a puddle like a warning. By the time he stormed back to the office, muttering about calling security, I had already opened my laptop and started a new file, Project Porsche. Because he hadn't just disrespected a spot, he had handed me the first real reason to dismantle his little kingdom. By 10 a.m., Tyler was already ramping up the chaos. The lobby was alive with the sound of his entourage, kids barely out of college with temp badges and inflated egos, all following him like he was a Pied Piper of entitlement. He tapped his phone, barking into it as if the device would obey his commands. "I need the North Wing prepped, conference room 5. Throw in some of those artisanal pastries. And someone get me oat milk, stat. I don't do almond, no soy, just—" His voice faded as I passed, coffee in hand, clipboard ready. I kept moving, pretending not to notice, but I was watching. Every flourish, every misstep, every tiny violation he left in his wake was being logged in my mind. And soon it would be logged in black and white, in a way no one could ignore. The first breach came minutes later. Tyler had decided that a team-building exercise was necessary. He had rented a mechanical bull and somehow gotten it past security into the west lobby, directly on the custom terrazzo floor I had fought for years to maintain. Sparks flew as the bull kicked against the polished stone, scuffing it with every spin. He laughed, high on adrenaline, as his interns clung on for dear life, spilling water and laptops alike. I sighed. This wasn't about damage control, it was about patience. Every scuff, every violated rule, every unnecessary risk was a line in the dossier I was building, each one a stitch in the net I was weaving. Tyler didn't understand that the building was mine, and owning something like this meant more than leasing it. It meant the power to enforce respect or watch fools fall. By noon, the chaos escalated. He decided the cafe on the ground floor was too slow. He stormed behind the counter demanding almond milk from Sarah, who was a graduate student working her way through school. Tyler leaned over the espresso machine, tapping his platinum card like a wand. Are we serving at peak efficiency? This is a premium experience. Oat milk is a non-negotiable. Do you hate progress? I stepped forward, adjusting my jacket, clipboard raised like a shield. The store is running exactly as designed. If you want oat milk, it's a 2-block walk, or perhaps one of your interns could fetch it. He spun, finally noticing me again. Recognition flashed in his eyes, but not respect, only confusion mingled with irritation. You again, the janitor? He stammered. I smiled, slow, deliberate. Not a janitor, Tyler, the owner. And right now you're violating every operational protocol I've put in place, including public safety, common area conduct, and, most importantly, property rights. Step aside before you make it worse. His face twisted. You can't. My father. You'll get fired. Security. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I had no fear left. He was loud, obnoxious, entitled, but he was also predictable, and predictable people are easy to trap. I had the leases, the clauses, the historical records. Every misstep was already documented in my mental ledger, and soon it would be on paper. By mid-afternoon, the mechanical bull had been removed, the interns embarrassed and exhausted. Tyler slouched against the railing, muttering about rules being for legacy industries, completely unaware that legacy was about to bite back. I watched him from the mezzanine, coffee in hand, letting the weight of his hubris settle like mist around him. Every violation, every insult, every careless act he had committed over the last 3 hours was ammunition, and soon the war would begin. By late afternoon, Tyler had moved to the rooftop garden, a place he had no right to modify. He was arranging furniture like a dictator staging a coup, oblivious to the fact that the pergola he was bolting down violated safety codes and required city permits. I stayed in the shadows, clipboard in hand, silent, invisible, watching him dig his own grave. Every unsecured bolt, every scratched tile, every broken planter was another entry in my dossier. A young intern approached him nervously, holding a stack of papers. Sir, building management says—" "Building management?" Tyler cut her off with a dismissive wave. "They have no authority here. I run this campus now. It's all mine. You, go fetch me the cushions from the East Wing. Make it quick." I stepped closer, careful not to be seen at first. My voice, calm but carrying an unspoken warning, carried over the hum of the HVAC. "Tyler, stop. That pergola isn't approved for rooftop installation." He froze mid-sentence, looking at me like a ghost emerging from the mist. "You... what? Are you serious?" "Deadly serious," I said, flipping through my notes. "Deadly serious," I said, flipping through my notes. "Structural load limits, fire egress clearance, city permits. Every violation you're committing is on record. I've been watching." He scoffed, but I could see it, just a flicker, doubt. The arrogance was cracking. The confidence that had fueled him since sunrise was evaporating. By 5 p.m., the chaos had spread to the main hall. Tyler decided that the glass-walled conference rooms were perfect for an impromptu strategy session, complete with video calls projected onto walls, cables snaking across hallways, and chairs stacked dangerously on top of one another. Employees whispered in corners, trying not to draw attention, but I noted every misstep, every obstruction, every potential hazard. I stepped into the center of the hallway, clipboard pressed against my chest. "Tyler, stop. You are creating multiple safety hazards. Move the equipment now." He turned, and for the first time, his smile faltered. "Do you realize who I am? My father owns half the valley. What are you, a building manager? You're nothing." I let him finish, let the insult hang. Then I spoke. "I am the owner, and this building, these spaces, every inch of it are under my authority. You are in violation of lease agreements, safety regulations, and common area protocols, and you've documented every one of your actions today." His face paled. Not fear, not yet. Shock. He had never encountered someone quiet but untouchable, someone who didn't yell or plead, but simply existed as the arbiter of consequences. I glanced down at my notes, reviewing the day's record: mechanical bull incident, cafe disruptions, rooftop pergola violation, cables in the hall, fire exit obstruction. Each entry, time-stamped and cross-referenced with lease clauses, was ammunition, and soon it would be delivered where it mattered. "You're going to regret this," Tyler muttered, but there was no conviction behind it, no real threat, only noise. I walked past him, clipboard tucked under my arm, letting my eyes linger at every violation he left behind. Employees whispered behind me. The fear was subtle but spreading. They understood something their boss did not. Power is not claimed by arrogance. It is enforced by rules, by patience, and by knowing every move before it is made. By the time I returned to my office, the dossier was complete. Photos, video timestamps, witness statements, detailed notes, and lease violations all compiled into a single, undeniable record. I poured a cup of coffee, sat at my oak desk, and smiled. Tyler thought he was untouchable. He didn't know the rules, and he didn't know me. And soon he would find out.
Morning came with a crisp edge. Tyler was already at the lobby, pacing like a caged animal, phone glued to his ear. He didn't notice me at first, perched on the balcony above, watching the unfolding panic with cold amusement. The interns and junior staff were whispering, exchanging glances. They had sensed the shift. The boss wasn't untouchable anymore. I descended the stairs slowly, heels clicking against the polished stone, each step measured, deliberate, a quiet drumbeat of inevitability. Tyler looked up as I entered the main hall. Recognition finally hit him, and for the first time, his mouth went dry. His arrogance faltered. What are you doing here?" he stammered, voice wavering. "Observing," I said, voice calm, even but heavy. "You've left a trail, Tyler, a complete trail of violations, breaches, and disruptions. And today, it all ends." He laughed nervously, waving his hands. "You think you can just— What? I own this floor. I run this place." "No," I corrected. "You lease it. You trespass on the rest. You're in violation of the agreement, and every single action is documented. This," I tapped my folder, "is your undoing." The security guards arrived quietly behind me, their presence unspoken but unmistakable. Tyler's gaze flicked to them and then back at me. Panic started to creep into his posture. He was trapped. I signaled, and one guard stepped forward, presenting a printed notice. "Administrative leave pending termination review. You are to vacate the premises immediately." Tyler's face twisted from disbelief to rage. "You can't! I built this! Built nothing," I said softly. "You occupied, you damaged, you disrespected, and you thought rules didn't apply to you. This is the consequence." He tried to argue, to reach for his phone, to call for help, but no one answered. His empire of chaos was collapsing under its own weight. Each lease violation, each safety infraction, each careless act had been logged, verified, and submitted. The evidence was undeniable. As they escorted him out, he finally turned to me, eyes red, voice trembling. "You're a monster." I watched, expression neutral. "No, Tyler, I'm a landlord. I enforce the rules." By the time he reached the curb, the crowd of staff, interns, and junior employees had gathered. Whispers filled the air, shock, relief, awe. The story of the CEO who thought he could bend the building to his will had ended, and the woman he had underestimated, the quiet, watchful, patient woman, stood in the center, unshaken. I returned to my office, clipboard now empty but my satisfaction full. I made a fresh cup of coffee, looking out at the reserved parking spot, now empty and spotless. The building was calm again, the staff restored to order, and the garden untouched. The lesson was simple, timeless. Arrogance invites scrutiny, disrespect invites consequences, and sometimes the quietest presence holds the loudest power. Tyler thought he owned the space. He hadn't even understood who he was dealing with. I took a sip of coffee. The building was mine again, every inch of it, every rule intact, and I finally allowed myself a small, triumphant smile.